Keith Andrew. I'm here with Jordan Iannucci, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show. And this is episode of Flashback of Monroe Woodbury. Now, going back, this is class of 2006, half hour, 45 minutes of your time. Say anything you want, curse if you want to. This is completely whatever you want to do.
I'm 2007.
Well, still. Okay, 2007. Still a
Yeah.
year difference, not a big deal. So, with that being said, say anything you want, do anything you want. Now, for people who want to know what uncensored is my way of showing people that even with a learning disability, I can prove to people that I can still amount to something. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of disabilities or learning disabilities. That you should never give up and you should prove to people you can still amount to something. And with that being said, thank you for being a guest on my talk show, and what can you tell us about yourself?
My name's Jordan. I live in Washington Heights in New York. Uh, I publish comic books and music, and I went to high school with Keith. And what else? I have this really nice Marvin the Martian mug that I found in the trash a few years ago. And it's like one of my favorite belongings.
No, it's really cool. Actually, you bring up a good point, something I want to ask you after the show. Actually, I'm going to ask you now. Would you be interested in writing a comic about me, and who influenced you to start your own comic series, and how did all that come about?
Okay, well, the first question I'm going to be really honest with. I wouldn't be interested, only because I have like a million things that I'm writing right now, and I've kind of reached the saturation point where I've said I was going to write all these things, and I think it's like physically impossible for me to do everything I've told people that I'm going to do. And it's kind of the worst part of my life. The comic series that I'm writing, um, I came up with the idea. It's kind of a long story. Uh, it has to do with this bear that I kept lying to people about living in this place that we all worked. There was like this door that never opened, and we had this new kid working, and they're like, "What's behind the door?" And I was just like, "It's a bear. Just don't open the door. There's a bear behind the door." And it became like this ongoing joke. And the more I told the joke, the more of a character like this imaginary bear became. And then my father got really sick, and I moved back to Monroe to take care of him. And I started writing a comic about it, and I didn't want it to be really sad. So I took this imaginary bear that I had come up with at work and just made the instead of writing myself as a character in the story, I just replaced myself with this bear. So now I'm writing a comic about a bear. The first issue should be coming out in January, maybe December, if I can finish if I can get the artwork done on time. Um, but yeah, that's where that came from. As far as like inspiration goes, I don't know. I've been reading comics as long as I can remember. I have way too many. And I probably spent all the time I wasted reading comics, like learning a craft or knowing how to do something useful. I'd probably be in a better financial spot in my life, but that's not what I ended up doing. Um, I really like Charlie Brown comics. A lot of the stuff I do is kind of modeled after the tone of Charlie Brown. So I guess that's probably the closest answer, especially for the book I have coming out. Do you read comics?
Occasionally, I'm a big fan of those motion comics.
Motion comics, like the Spider Woman comic from a few years ago.
Kind of. PlayStation did it a couple years ago, where you can download it. It's basically a comic book, but they turn it into like a video.
Oh yeah, like they had that Astonishing X-Men motion comic like that,
Yes.
where they like take the panels and then they'll zoom from one panel to the other, and it'll kind of it's kind of like when you see like an animated movie special features where they'll take the storyboards and they'll show you how the storyboards became the animated feature, kind of like that. I remember those.
The
Do they
ones
still make those?
I think so. I haven't seen it in a while. I
Yeah,
think the most recent one I saw was the let's see, was it? I saw the Red Sun Superman. That was pretty interesting. I started to watch the Batgirl series, so it's okay. I saw the Batman Black and White season 1. That was really good.
yeah.
Most of them are on YouTube now, and the X-Men one, what you were talking about, was pretty good.
Yeah, Superman Red Sun's one of my favorite stories. I think that's my favorite version of Superman. Like I kind of like I'm not a huge fan of regular Superman, but I'm a real big fan of evil creepy Superman.
And it wasn't just Superman. Batman was in it, and so was Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Batman has like that weird Russian hat with like the ear flaps. He kind of looks like little Pete Wrigley from Pete and Pete when he has his winter hat on. It's such a weird reference. I don't know if anyone's gonna get that. Um, the new Captain America movie that's coming out, Civil War, is based on a comic written by the guy who wrote Red Sun. It's the same writer. I'm really excited. I really liked him. He did a lot of really good stuff in like the early to mid 2000s when we were in high school that I really liked. But he hasn't really done anything that good now. But back in the day, back in my day, he was a really good comic writer.
Now, for Civil War, is it like both sides, and there's two Civil Wars? Is it just one they're making up, or is it actually Civil War when it's people? If you played Ultimate Alliance 2,
Mm-hmm.
he had X-Men, Fantastic Four. I think they were against being registered with the government, but then he had Captain America and a whole bunch of other people who were with the government and you were supposed to register. Is that the Civil War where superheroes are fighting each other?
Yeah, except in the comic, it's flipped where Captain America's against the government and Iron Man's for the government. Um, and Spider-Man goes from the pro-government side to the anti-government side. Uh, it was an okay comic. There wasn't enough punching. Like everyone, like it's like there's like a lot of storylines. Like the Fantastic Four as like a family, they kind of break up, and like Captain America and Iron Man aren't best friends anymore, and Spider-Man reveals his identity, and then Captain America dies, and then Aunt May gets shot, and there's like a lot of like drama, but like I really like wanted a comic where the Thing and the Hulk punched each other a lot, and it wasn't that at all. Like there's like I like smart comics, but then there's like certain times where it's like a comic just needs to be stupid. Like it needs to be like straight up stupid. Like give me like Invisible Woman fighting like She-Hulk on top of like Goliath's shoulders or something. Like I want that. I want that comic, and it wasn't that, and I kind of didn't like it. It's my 10-year-old review comic.
Now, here's an important question I was going to ask you. I recently looked this up, and I saw Marvel do something for 9/11, but DC didn't do anything that I know of. There's a comic where it's I think it was Amazing Spider-Man, where they had
Amazing Spider-Man 36.
Yes. And why didn't DC do anything like that?
Probably a bunch of reasons. The two biggest ones I can think of is at the time Marvel didn't have Marvel's owned by Disney now, but it wasn't at the time. They kind of like were autonomous, so if they wanted to do it, they could. I'm assuming DC, which is owned by Time Warner, and I think it was still owned by AOL at the time in 2001. They probably had like some dude in a suit that's like, don't do a 9/11 thing. It's too sensitive. Um, Another reason why Marvel probably did it and DC didn't is like no DC comics take place in New York, but all Marvel comics take place in New York.
Right.
Like like 2001, I honestly don't think a single storyline was taking place outside of New York City in Marvel Comics. Like the farthest place that Marvel Comics took place was like Westchester. That's where the X-Men are. But other than that, it's like all Manhattan. So you kind of have to. Also, Spider-Man's like the most New York superhero there is.
Actually, it's funny. That's read my mind. I was gonna say it. The only superhero team for aren't based in the New York, well, New York City is the X-Men. But you have Spider-Man, you have Daredevil, you have Fantastic Four, you have the Punisher, you have Jessica Jones, and below on the subject, what's your opinion about Daredevil series and Jessica Jones? Are you looking forward to it, or have you started to watch it?
Oh my God, I have so much work that I have to do. I have so much shit I'm like very dramatically behind on. But this Friday, there's the new Jessica Jones series coming out, and then there's also the new Aziz Ansari comedy series coming out on Netflix. And I can't imagine that I'm gonna wait watching either of them. So all this shit that I have to do next week probably isn't going to get done. If anyone's watching this and I haven't responded to your emails, it's because I'm watching Netflix and not doing all the things I'm supposed to. I loved that Daredevil series. Um, that it was so it felt exactly like how Daredevil comics felt when we were in high school and Brian Michael Bendis was writing them. Um, which is my favorite era of Daredevil. Probably just because like I was a teenager when it was coming out, and you always like the stuff that you read growing up. But like, I just loved how much it felt like New York City, and I liked how they explained how it was like gentrifying, because like one of the weird things about Daredevil is like it's supposed to take place in this gritty neighborhood, but if you go to Hell's Kitchen now, it's like right next to Times Square, and like there's nothing bad happening. Like everything's like nice, and there's like a Chipotle every 2 blocks, and it's not bad. And then the TV show they explained like, oh, it got effed up in the Avengers fight, and now they're trying to like remodel it. So I thought that was cool. They actually are shooting, I think, season 2 a few blocks from my apartment. I was walking in the subway and there's like cameras everywhere and there's like all these extras standing around. Uh, I asked one of the extras like what's going on, and they said they're shooting a Marvel Netflix series. So it's either going to be that or maybe Power Man or Luke Cage or whatever they're calling. I don't know what the third one's going to be.
You should be go to New York cast and be a part of it.
Yeah. I'm roughly built like a superhero. I can totally just blend in. Uh, yeah.
Well,
Uh,
wrapping up, we only have a couple minutes left. We could be started right to have a next interview soon. But wrapping up, I'm gonna pass the show over to you for the last 10 minutes. Was there anything you want to ask me? Anything you want to talk about?
yeah, I want to talk about professional wrestling.
All right.
Favorite member of the Shield?
If I had to choose, I would say, let's see. Well, right now or a what if scenario?
Um, who's your favorite right now, but who do you think could be the best? So it's 2 questions.
I would say Roman Reigns.
Favorite right now.
Yes.
Who do you think could be the best?
Actually, right now it's Steph Rollins. Actually, that's a good question. It's either gonna be Roman Reigns or Steph Rollins. I'd probably go with Steph Rollins because he's more athletic. But a what if scenario, Roman Reigns could have been a great next Edge, or he could have been like the next Kevin Nash. He kind of looks and similar. Let's see, he kind of looks and reflects Kevin Nash. If they worked him as a big guy, he would have gotten over more. But I don't know what the hell they're doing with him, so it's kind of ridiculous. Steph Rollins could have been the next Jeff Hardy. Dean Ambrose, even though I'm not really a big fan of this one, could have been the next Paul. Let's see, Brian Pillman.
Yeah, Brian Pillman's the one that I see a lot. He reminds me a lot of Brian Pillman. Um, do you watch TNA?
Occasionally.
What do you think of Jeff Hardy in TNA? Because when I was growing up, I loved Jeff Hardy, and then I started watching TNA. I watched TNA for like a year in 2012 because there was like a blip where it was really good, and then went back to being horrible. But when I was watching, like when Austin Aries was the champion,
Right.
and then he lost to Jeff Hardy, and for some reason, as a kid, I loved Jeff Hardy so much, but as an adult, I hate Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy, both of them. I can't stand. What's your opinion on current day Jeff Hardy?
Professionally, I think he's a great athlete. He puts his body at risk, but that's all Mick Foley's fault for that stupid hardcore wrestling BS. Professionally, I never met the guy. I know he's gone through a lot. Same thing as Matt Hardy. There's a whole thing. I don't know if you ever saw Matt Hardy, Edge, and Lita, the whole storyline.
Yeah.
But not gonna say anything professionally because I never met them. But in the ring wise, they're pretty good. I'm not like the biggest fans, but I do respect what they do.
What about his Willow character?
I think that had a lot of potential, but I just think it was just him about being on drugs. It was just a bit on druggy character.
Yeah. Cool. I'm with you on that. Okay. Next wrestling question. I'm trying to think of a good one. Do you watch NXT?
Yes.
Okay. So, what wrestler from NXT do you think should get called up, and what do you think they should get rid of entirely because they're just no good?
I would say probably get rid of the tag team champions, the black and white ones.
Oh, the Vaudevillains?
Yeah. The one that I think has a lot of potential, and you probably think this, or you might, would be. Well, are you talking about male or female?
Both. Either or.
Alright, well, for the guys, I would say Finn Balor.
Yeah.
And for the divas, I would say probably Emma. Emma and Bailey have a lot of potential.
Yeah, they called Emma up like 2 years ago and then didn't do anything with her. It made no sense. That bothered me so much because when the Emma, like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, she was like one of the original NXT women's wrestlers, and her and Paige were having like these great matches before Paige got called up, and then they called up Emma and like they put her like they made her like Santino's manager, and she never had like a good match on TV. What do you think of the Sasha Banks Bailey matches?
Yeah, those are really good. I think they're trying to compete with Trish and Rita, like for the next generation.
Yeah.
But I think Trish and Rita, and by the way, they're two beautiful women. I would love to have them on my show. But they really opened the door for the women's division. But I think Sasha and Bailey will take it to the next step. And then that will open it to the next series coming out. Generation, anyway.
Yeah, I honestly I think they're better than Trish and Lita. I think like Trish and Lita were really like for like the time period where there were like no women in like good storylines. The fact that like they were in such like a big rivalry at the time is really cool. But like in terms of like athletic wrestlers, like Trish and Lita are not good wrestlers. Like when Lita did a moonsault, it kind of looks like it's like this stiff. It looks like that. Like she doesn't look good in the ring. Like it looks awkward. But like Sasha Banks, like when she wrestles, it looks like she's beating the shit out of these people. Like when she like hits somebody, she like lays it in so hard. This is like the thing that I really like about the women's wrestling on NXT now is it's so like stiff and hard hitting because like they're not they're not like heavyweight boxers. Like they can like really punch each other and not have to worry about like giving somebody a fucking like cranial fracture. So like when they're like they have like these stiff punches and these stiff kicks, and they like lay into submission moves so hard. Like Sasha Banks does the bank statement, she's like bending people in half. It's insane. I love wrestling.
Now, as that being said, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners, and how can they follow you on social media?
Uh, I guess you can go to jmcaggregate.com. Go there, buy some bullshit, give me money. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Give me money.